That's McDonald's.
Call to order, adoption of agenda.
The council adopt the agenda as presented.
Can I get a seconder? All in favor? Adoption of minutes.
Recommendation that council adopt the minutes from the regular council meeting held on February the 20th,
Can I get
2019.
can I get a seconder? Any discussion? All in favor? Number 4, discussion of late items. None, public hearing, none, delegation. Oh, there is late items. Sorry,
How are you doing?
That's from the 8.7, wasn't it?
No, 8.4, there's a letter that is attached for the art gallery.
We have an 8. Okay.
And then an 8.7 is trail, multi-use trail. And they want to have a meeting on March 25th or 23rd. So, now we'll, okay. Number 6, delegation, 6.1 recommendation. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Pretty good.
So council here, the delegation from the South Peace Historical Society.
I'll second.
That's,
There you go.
well, you're gonna be a hard act to follow.
You bring your chair up. Stu.
Can't hear you where you are.
Oh. Bring your chair up, bring your chair up.
Sit here.
Okay. Grab that nice council chair right there.
Mike can have that.
You don't want us to straighten out?
Okay, first of all, I guess I'm Stu Flynn of Dawson Creek. I'm from the Southeast Historical Society. It's my wife Mark. I'm very involved with it. Almost over I'm not sure, have you read all of this agenda? Have everybody read it? Okay, so you're all familiar with the issue we're having. I guess the best way for me to start on is ask you, do you have any questions?
No.
None at all? You can't get away with that so easy.
How much money are you looking for from the village?
Well, $1 million would be all right.
You gotta work down, right?
We gotta start high. Maybe what I could do is give you a little bit of insight. If you all read the paper, in the last paper that is City of Dawson Creek stated in the editorial that we're going to give the Southeast Historical Society $30,000. That was in there. Now, that was the end of the story. Now, how that $30,000 is handled is they pay out $6,000 a year to the Historical Society. We in turn pay that at $500 a month to KPAC. So what happens is that the city pays us the $6,000. We in turn pay it back to KPAC so that they can keep their books sort of in balance. You know, and the $24,000 that they are going to give us, it works out like this. Because our archivist that we have employed right now will be there for at least 5 months because the city takes so long to get through their budget, and they won't get anything done until May. So that means that we need to pay our archivist in a rent from January to May. So that's 5 months. We pay her roughly $4,000 a month. So that's $20,000. And if we don't get the money and we terminate her wages, that means we have to pay her holiday pay and we have to pay her whatever else, and living, like we're going to pay her if she leaves, we'll give her a $500
Relocation.
severance pay, those kinds of things. So that's where that $30,000 is going. So you understand exactly kind of where that's going. If the Historical Society pays, or if the city help us pay her until May, that means we've got 7 months left to pay her. So we need $28,000 minimum to pay her for the next 7 months. So, if we were to get that kind of money, that would be wonderful. But I understand we've had a brief conversation prior, so whatever you feel comfortable in your, whatever your budget will allow you to do, that's fine. Just so as you know, we have also hooked up with, with Saddle Hills, which is out on Highway 49 towards St. River. I've talked to the gentleman out there, that Ken Titford, and we have a meeting out there, I believe it's on the 8th of March, right?
I think it's the 12th.
12th of March. So we're going to meet with them at their council on the 12th of March. And the way I've talked to this Ken for a few minutes, and they are able to pay wages. See, the regional district will give us a grant to build a building, but they won't give us a grant to run it. Like, they won't pay wages to have somebody inside employed.
So, just to correct, just to say something here, when we did our economic development, the city of Dawson Creek put forth that the Baltrees House operational be paid through the regional district.
To you?
Through the regional district,
Yeah.
the regional district would pay the Balterius House money for operation. I think it was $7,500 for operation.
Right.
So, I'm not sure, have you contacted the regional district this
I've
year?
talked to Leonard. So we have had a conversation, so there is a conversation ongoing. But he was going to go back and check his bylaws per se. But my understanding still is like, they might be able to give us money like to operate, like to buy our insurance and our paper and our ink and our things like that, which costs us roughly $22,000 a year. But the thing is, they won't give us any money to pay for wages. But they will, if they pay for that, if they pay up to $22,000, then that means we don't have to pay it. And the income that the Historical Society Group's, the only place we get any income from is grants or donations, and we get donations through the tourism, like at the museum, and we also get paid by tourism because they have an office in the crane station.
What about NDIT?
We haven't approached them as far as they won't give you money to operate. It's not in my impression. So, but when Saddle Hills will give you money to operate.
Yeah.
They will actually pay wages.
Bob, is there anything that the federal government can do for them? For the Southeast Cultural Society?
Hysterical Society.
Hysterical.
I'd say it.
It almost makes you hysterical after a while.
Yeah.
Cut right in the middle of everything.
There is, it just depends on, like what Stu's asking for is, typically the feds don't, but it's not always the same. It depends. If they're hiring students, there's student money there, right? And there's,
But they already have somebody yet.
yeah. But,
But this is
but do
extra,
you,
like Bob
but
was
do you,
talking.
are you actually already using the summer students program? Or are you paying the student out of your general revenue?
She has applied for 2 students.
Okay.
However, if we have to let her go, which is,
Yeah.
right now, that's the story, then we won't be able to have the summer students. They have to have someone.
But what, because
supervise
usually every
them.
year I go through the list of all the students and I know the ones that are needed, so the Historical Society usually gets students, but
Yeah, she has applied for 2 because we didn't know.
I'm the one that oversees the final checkoff, so
Yeah.
I can make sure that that happens.
But it's,
If we can keep her.
but we've got to be able to keep her, Bob.
Oh, whether she wants to go or not.
No,
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 they
no,
have
that's
to,
what
they have
they
to
want
come
is
up with the
money.
money to be
The
able to
current-
keep their.
She doesn't want to go.
The current
Yeah.
archivist is a full-time employee.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
not a
So if she
student.
goes,
Right.
there's no one to supervise the students.
Yeah.
They need
Oh,
a
I see what you're saying.
professional,
Yeah,
trained
that's a
person
To
different-
run the
to
museum,
supervise them.
period.
Yeah, I'd say there's none for operational, but it depends on what kind of money you can exchange, like, 'cause it sounds like you're asking for money for ink and supplies. Well, I'd have to see what your total, like
Budget
what
is.
your budget is, and then I can maybe slot some things and where things you can move them into a different line item and do a little bit of a horse trading where we could supply, but I'd have to see what the budget says.
I'm kind of hearing what he's saying. He's talking the same way as the regional district.
That, no, he needs to see your budget for him to be able to help.
I can tell you where I can help you, where I possibly.
Yeah, where he can help
Where I
you.
can and can't.
Well, we can, that's easy, because Mark's the treasurer.
Yeah.
Okay. Pardon?
Okay, so what initially you're trying to do is maybe Saddle Hills can pay for her because they can pay wages or whatever. But then that takes your funds. So can you contact us after you have the meeting from Saddle Hills and let us know what, after you've discussed with them what you can do or what you need?
Right.
Even if you sit down with Bob too.
I can do that, and I guess the first question is, I don't know what your budget is. Like, we can create a budget, like Saddle Hills, they haven't given me a figure, and they haven't given me a yay or a nay either. But the way this can talk, they do have the money. It's just a matter of their directors telling us that they will or won't do it. So, when we talked to Leonard Hebert, because he's with the regional district, he was going to do some checking, like I said earlier, and he would be able to maybe do some of it, but not the wages. We've got to do some trading, like Bob was suggesting. We've got to trade. If he pays the operational of the group or of the society, and we can take the money out of someplace else to pay for wages, if we can work the way it's working. We need, in order to finish this year and pay her out and look after her the way we ought to, we've got 24,000 now, and we need the difference between that and 60. So that's, what is that, 44? Right, that's not right.
No.
56.
No.
46.
46?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need 46,000 somewhere. If you want to give us 6,000, then we'll go to Saddle Hills for 20, and maybe the regional district for 20. We could put it together like that. I don't, but I understand your budget, and I understand the shortage of money. I'm very familiar with it. I know when you guys talk shortage of money, I know where you are.
The thing is too, we get the money, if we were to get the money for this year, then come January, we're just scrambling again.
Here we are again.
So if we could have some way of the regional districts or the other places giving us like a 3 to 5 year ongoing sort of thing, and which is what we kind of had with the city. It was supposed to be a 5-year plan. We were in that 5-year plan, and then they just pulled the rug out from under us. So after 1 year, so it really puts you in a bad spot. We already had the training booked for her. We have, like you said to Bob, we had the grant for the summer students, things like that that are just, and we can't apply for any other grants that apply to the archives unless we have her on staff. There are some grants that you can get, for other things, but not for the archives.
Because it's a non-profit organization, you can go through the regional district and use their grant writer too, right?
And yes, and Danae can grant for us too. She is our grant writer. She's done some for other things, but so yes, we need to go through the city to get a grant writer.
And you have something to say?
Well, you guys, from what I understand, are custodians of the Treaty 8 artifact collection.
We are.
That has to be an avenue for you to receive funds to continue that, venture. The federal government, indeed Treaty 8 itself, should be stepping up to the plate to conserve this very important collection that you guys have.
Right. It seems though they have paid there's two groups, Treaty 8 and there's another group. So and Danae went out to a field day out at the Richardson farm. Was it Frederickson farm?
Donaldson.
Donaldson farm or something. Anyway, They paid her roughly $400, not quite, but just about $400. So each one paid $200 to her to do that. And that came into the funds for the archive. But you know, without sounding a little negative, I find that, and I have never had much to do with them, but I find that the money kind of goes one way with them. A little bit. So we have, Danae has talked to them, I think, but never actually pushed them to, if they don't know our crisis, I would have to think that they're thinking to switch. So, when we have 51 or 52 boxes of their stuff in our.
There's more now, because last time I talked to you, there was 42.
And that requires special storage.
That's where
Yes,
she comes
it
in.
needs to be in that temperature controlled vault. And that's another thing, that if we can't keep her and we had to close the archives, then that vault still has to be monitored, so that, and you may not have to do it daily, but. it
Has the
would have
board
to be
actually
done.
gone out and reached out to the bands?
She's been working with them quite closely. I don't believe that she has reached out to them for funding on a permit. They hope to have their own archives at some time or other. They just, to get it up and going, and we're the custodian till that time. But that could be a long time too.
But you guys destroying them? The
Yes.
51 boxes for them, they should at least be paying for that,
Yes,
right?
yes. So there is that avenue too, that we can look at against, something that can definitely do. There's lots of different ways that perhaps we can get some funds from here and some from there for this year.
Well, we can't tell you tonight, like, we can't tell you if we're gonna give you a funding right now, or we have to discuss it, and you're not seeing it. Sorry, but.
Oh, no, that's,
But at least, you do have some numbers, and you do have the idea of where we're trying to go with it to create it. In other words, you're trying to drag, and it's something, I'm sure lying to you if I didn't think, I did not expect this. I did not expect to be sitting here tonight. I thought the city would step up to the plate. In most cities, the city owns the archives and they look after them. They damn well pay for that, and they got sure they got 2 hired people, and they pay for it and they run it. Over and done.
Now, is K-PAC your permanent place
It is.
for these artifacts?
Yes.
And they have the space and everything? So what you need to do is, like, are they gonna be displayed for the public eventually, or they?
You know,
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
think
but I
so.
can't answer that question. We have a space in the bottom of the cave back there, and the Historical Society has a space, it's 2,700 square feet, just so you know. And the vault is roughly, I would say just roughly 30 feet square, so it's about 900 square feet in there. Now that vault is in behind a door like a safe, and there's all kinds of fancy rigging in there, like it's got humidity and dryers and temperature control, and the list just goes on. However, because it's a mechanical device, that means, like Mark said, it has to be monitored. And if we go out of there, like if we don't get our funding for that, that means in my mind, the archive should be closed. But then the city is going to have to put a man down there 2 or 3 times a week, like one of their maintenance people, to check that vault. And when I say that, I didn't know about it until just recently, but one time they went down there and the vault was too dry. Like the air temperature was warm and too dry, so they had to bring in a humidifier to subsidize the moisture in the air. So in one way or the other, or any way at all you look at it, it's got to be monitored. It's that simple.
The $6,000 that we pay rent to K-PAC is our rent for the archives. We pay that $500 a month. And have you ever been down there, any of you, and saw the archives? You may find
It's
that
scary.
no, it's not scary.
Well, no, the ghost is in the train station. He's
Yeah.
not here.
It's not in there. It's a beautiful space. We were very, very lucky when, that we were able to move over to there, that they made that space for us. And,
Yeah, it will impress you when you go down
It
there.
is, it's a beautiful
Professional
space,
operation,
yes.
yeah.
And
I want to thank you for a resident here that you guys are actually working on this. That's our heritage, that's our,
It is.
you know what I mean?
It is.
That's why I asked you guys to
So
come out. That's why I asked you guys to come out
Right.
and talk to us about it, because it
It's
is.
important.
I mean, it's not, we think it is.
And we need someone to get these stories of all the pioneers that are here.
You're right,
And we
you're
are
right.
losing them, you know, slowly we are, and we're losing those stories, but
I can think of Archie McTavish.
Yeah,
You know, there's a guy that came out,
Hank Forrester.
Stu
The old Navy
Beatty.
guy. And you had lots of them.
Yeah.
Glory Myatt.
And yeah, but some of them aren't around anymore, like Lori.
He's-
Yeah, we need to get his story and,
Did Lori pass away? Did you just say?
no, no.
Lori's still alive.
He's
yeah.
still
He's
alive.
still good, yeah. He's getting on. You know what we're going to add to this, is that the thing with Danae being there, she's young.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she's in her mid-20s in that area. And you know what, she's hooked up and there's a kind of a little bit of a clan of about 6 of the girls. Kind of run around together, like the girls upstairs, you know, that Jody,
Shayla.
whatever her name is. And, you know, so they create a little circle of their own, and you know, with any luck at all, you know, when the wheel goes around the mud pub, it drags in more mud. So she can bring stuff in. This cowboy is not bringing anybody in. And you know what? We're getting along in the tooth, just in case you didn't notice that. So, and you know what? I'll tell you have, and just like your council things, it takes a hell of a lot of your time. Okay, I rest my case.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it, and Chris will be giving one of you a call. If
And
you
if you
decide not to
If
decide.
you would like to come and see the archives, feel welcome. I can give you the number, and I know that.
We'll give you a guided tour.
No, will you?
Just phone us.
Next time I'm having a meeting there, I'll call you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
See,
Thanks,
you
Kat.
guys can go, you
Alright.
have a choice,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, now, tap Mr. Zimmer here, because the Liberals aren't gonna give us any money, so maybe he'll give you that. Anyway, that's ya. Take care.
You guys are asking still ask, but that is part of it, I guess. I'm glad you care, so. Shouldn't have to keep asking though. I mean, I'm just saying generally, I know you guys have been trying for a lot of years to make this.
Yeah, thank you for the Sacramento.
Anyway,
Thank you again, you guys.
Thank you so much.
See you well.
Come on up,
Okay. Am I in the hot seat now?
yeah, you can move that here. You can sit in the,
You want the podium instead, though?
What's that?
do you want the
There's a
podium
little
or?
podium.
Oh, I'm
For
good.
that?
You- you-
Would it be good right
Yeah,
there?
sit right there.
You can do whatever.
Whatever, you're Mr.
I don't know
Important.
what you're expecting of me tonight, so. I'm just gonna-
Where's your checkbook?
Yeah, I don't have one. If I had one, I'd be given a big one to steal a long time ago. But if there's questions that need to be asked, normal situations, it's covered by certain levels of government, they're just not doing it. And I think that's the problem there, but,
But probably guidance is called for
what's that?
guidance for
Guidance for,
them to find out how to go about getting money.
well, they've been at this for a long time. So they have had funding in, like with the summer student jobs, that's one thing that I've always made sure that they've had students. But I think there was some capital there too that went in 2015, if I recall. But NDIT though, they do have certain pockets of money that aren't always obvious. And you just have to, Joel's pretty good about informing. He says often they're undersubscribed, so they have a lot more programs that aren't even asked. So there's not enough requests that have really been given, so. So I don't know what you want to hear from me.
How's it going?
Good,
What's
yeah.
happening down there? What's happening?
Well, that's partly what I'm dealing with right now, is I'm chair of the ethics committee, so, what happened was Justice basically said we don't want to hear from Jody Wilson-Raybould anymore. So we're considering, hosting our own meeting. So that's what just was on the phone with Peter Kent, Charlie Angus, and all those guys, just gonna see what we're gonna do, so. So there is something
He won't
coming with me
resign.
next week.
He won't resign, he'll wanna,
I wouldn't say that. I don't think he doesn't seem to be posturing that way. He seems to be digging in his heels, so. You never know. Sometimes they just see the mountain and the wall and they go, I've had enough, I can't do this, or there's no other way out. But it doesn't seem like that's the way they're going. With Bud's testimony today saying it's
I
a
never
different
heard that
story.
one.
I heard it just a bit when I was driving up. I hadn't heard, I was busy all day, so. Basically, they're saying their version of the story is different than Jody Wilson-Raybould's version of the story, so. You know, it's their attempt to discredit her just a little bit with kind of doing it nicely, so we'll see where it goes.
well, he wants a, what, Nobel Peace Prize or something?
I don't know.
Can't you offer him that for?
I don't know.
We'll give you
No, I know
this.
this is a nonpartisan group here.
No.
So I won't presume, no, all we wanted just to get to the bottom of it. I was at the Justice Committee when she came down to testify. I thought I would just go down and hear what she had to say. And like I've said to everybody, I've been asked about it, my jaw was on the table most of the time, just hearing what she was saying. And, clearly pressured, she felt pressured to make decisions she didn't want to make. It's, you probably know the story, but is there anybody that needs, okay, everybody knows? Yeah, it's, yeah. She felt pressure not to prosecute or to hold off prosecution of somebody that was, by all accounts, corrupt. I have a friend that works for SNC Lavalin, and that's the way they do business, and they admit it. And one person that I knew or know said, look, I'm not going to do business that way. And they said, he said they never ever made him do it, but that was just their corporate culture. Is you buy off whoever you need to buy off to keep going.
Kind of like the mob.
Yeah, you said mob, I didn't, but, yeah.
It's the French culture, I think.
And you said that, I didn't.
Yeah. Lots of
Yeah.
friends
I know
that are
you
French,
can't,
and that's
but-
not
Yeah.
how they think.
This
It's not,
meeting
but
is
it-
being recorded.
But that's I would say in defense, because we have some colleagues from Quebec that are honest as the day's long too. There are people that don't like it any more than we do. They probably like it even less because because of that, it attributes to their whole culture, that whole corruption thing. I'd say it is more pervasive over there, but it doesn't mean that everybody likes it. So anyway, that's what's going on now, and it's very busy, so, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on too. We have an election coming up, and partly the reason why I talked to you guys was just to make sure that you guys have your shovel-ready plans all ready to go in the event that you get asked, because you know how it works. Wait for 4 years, and then all of a sudden, okay, what are your projects? You better have them ready, because if there's none ready, then the opportunity floats by. So,
Oh, we have.
yeah, as long as they're shovel-ready, that's the big thing, and then different amounts of money too, just so you have some options. I'm not sure.
We have purchased the 2 quarter lots now here. And we're looking at extending our fire hall, our post office. You know, there's a number of things here that we're
Definitely infrastructure though, right?
looking at.
School.
Yeah, our
School
school
Well,
is,
school isn't federal.
I know.
so,
No, I know.
Yeah,
School is
that would
important
be
to us.
provincial, so it doesn't mean you can't ask though.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Now the legalization of cannabis.
Yep.
The downloading on the municipalities to enforce the bylaws,
Yeah.
the approval. What is the federal government gonna give back to the provinces?
Probably not much, right, if anything.
Is each
Uh,
province keeping their own money for
That's a
cannabis?
good question, I don't know. So I just know from the federal perspective, there's a lot of unknowns even now. Because if you go, even talk to the local RCMP and you ask them, how are you managing cannabis? And they go, wow. If we pull somebody over and they're under the influence, we do the sobriety test where they do the walk and touch the nose. They don't have anything else they can do. I shouldn't say that. They can still do a test, but it has to be a swab,
Charge of 5,000.
which also means you have to get a warrant, and you have to get them, if the warrant isn't something that you want to pursue, then you have to get their permission. Well, how many people are going to get permission to take a swab of their DNA? It just isn't going to happen.
People pay for that.
Yeah, but they'll just say, it's easy for them to just say no. And
Is
then-
that swept under the rug, or are they gonna look at that?
Well, okay, so that was our biggest concern, the reason why we were opposed to it, and even when Ron Ambrose was health minister, I remember, this is years ago, and the reason why I say it is, this is why we're opposed to it, the legalization of it, is, on the one hand, we're encouraging people to not smoke cigarettes because they cause cancer and the rest, and on the other hand, we're appearing to give the green light to people smoking cannabis, when you can get lung cancer smoking cannabis just like you can tobacco. So some of those concerns are still real, you know, and all the other ones that come with it. And those are some other questions, the policing part of it.
And the costs for the policing,
Yeah.
and like you say, the municipalities.
Yeah.
Richard,
And to answer your question, I think as a municipality, you probably have more tools than you think. And that for zoning purposes and for shops and all that, that's up to municipalities to decide. Now, I don't know if you're able to tax for that more, maybe not your general public, but if, I mean, I don't know what tools are open to you. I know what I'd probably try if I was mayor and council, but I'm not gonna put that out on you.
what about Caribou? What is happening there?
Well, we have another meeting on, what
Last
day is
Saturday you had one, but I
think it's
missed
the
it.
9th. I think it's the 9th on Saturday.
Saturday.
In Chowd. So I started it off, you saw all the things that were canceled, meeting canceled, because the province wouldn't show up when they found out that it was gonna be public. So I said, well, bag this, I'm gonna do it myself. And I had a whole bunch of people scared about going to the meeting just because of the repercussions, so I said, I am not canceling this meeting. So we did it, and we had Dan Davies, Mike Bernier, Larry Ackerman, really anybody as an elected official in the area represented. I think they all Skyped in, and there was one in Dawson on the second as well. But we had Kathleen Connolly speak with the CCCR, Concerned Citizens for Caribou Recovery. And we invited all the local chiefs as well, because it was a town hall. It wasn't meant to have any kind of agenda, like we weren't trying to promote something, just a particular political ideology. We just wanted to say, okay, what does everybody know? And we wanted everybody to know what we all know as individuals. And then what you find out by piece is that it's very alarming what's on the agenda. And if you saw the maps, I just got another map. This is a separate issue from here, but it's to do with TLEs and TLAs with McLeod Lake and the Westmo Indian Band is. So I don't know if you've ever been to Summit Lake. It's a nice little community. There's lots there. The Westmo is saying that's our territory and we want a whole bunch of that crown land that's right in the heart of their little community. And without really consulting too many people, the province is ready to give it to them. And so a lot of the communities going, what the heck? Don't even let us know. We have no idea what's going on. And it seems a little ironic that the consultation is very secretive when when that's what government is trying to say. Everybody else is supposed to be consulting everybody else, but when it's this stuff, it's being done behind closed doors. And I've tried to get in with meetings with the Caribou and with all this other stuff too, and I'm told I'm not allowed to be. So, as an elected official that represents 107,000 of you, to not let a guy like me in the room is a problem. And I just am concerned about what's going on. But the maps are really, with the southern Caribou, and then there's the central Caribou and the northern. They're literally talking about shutting down 65% of the area. And I mean 65%. So I'm kind of jumping around in the conversation. But so we had, after the one day in Fort St. John, we said, look, you need to contact ministers, you need to let them know you're concerned about the issue of closing lands out for maybe not necessary, but you're still going to close things out. So here are some numbers. So I got a call from Sean Fraser, who's Minister McKenna, she's the Environment Minister for Canada. He called me and said, we're concerned about the lack of consultation. He says, but we're only talking about 65%.
Only.
And I said, well, Sean, I said, I don't know if you fully understand what you're saying. Because for us, you know, closing off 65% might not sound bad, but if you're closing off that doorway to this room, the room's useless, right? You can't get to the room. Well, they don't understand that when you close off certain parts of the territory and access, you don't have any access to that area. It shuts it all out. So he doesn't seem to fully understand what he's doing. So you have people that don't understand when they say 65% is not a big deal, and those are the ones that are signing the documents to say go ahead. So the biggest thing we can do right now is say, look, you guys need to stop. We're not saying that nothing needs to be done about Caribou. Something does need to be done about Caribou. But closing entire areas isn't necessarily the solution. That's the other part of the Caribou conversation we've heard, is total closure is not the answer.
No.
We've heard from guides and outfitters that it needs to be managed because, as we all know, predators like caribou, they like to eat caribou. Guess some predators, there's grizzly bears that are growing like crazy right now because there's no grizzly bear hunt. There's wolves are probably the worst, but there's also others like wolverine and even birds. Like there's some birds that prey on caribou. So you need to do something about the predators, or else all this other effort is useless. Like this is the funny part. It's almost laughable. There was one herd in the southern part of the province, and there's only 3 females left.
Yeah.
And you think closing an entire area with 3 females, it doesn't matter how much you close that area.
It's only gonna
It doesn't work that way. You know, it's not gonna work.
You learn in school.
Yeah, but one story we heard too is, and I don't want to.
Is that true that they left the 2 bulls behind?
No, because I didn't hear there was any bulls left. There was one little herd of 16 caribou in this corner. This is this one witness, this one guide and outfitter that was presenting to us. He said we went in and this little herd was there of 16. He said the indigenous hunt was allowed to go in. He said when they left, there was none left. So some of the herds that they can mitigate that are there, like 16 is a number you could probably work with, but they're hunted out. So it really needs to be fulsome discussion with indigenous groups at the table, guides and outfitters at the table who are there, that live their lives are there so they know what needs to be done, and us.
So what, can you tell me what reconciliation means? I'd like to know, I'd like your take on reconciliation.
Yeah, that's a good question. Reconciliation, I mean, by definition, it's to make something as it once was, right? That's what that word means. And the whole part is that something was taken and it needs to be restored to the way it was in some fashion. It might not be perfect restoration, but that's the idea behind it. But there's a challenge with that too. And we're seeing, I'd say, where government is just throwing things at it instead of
It's not
really
fixing
thinking about it, yeah. Yeah. So, but this caribou thing, to finish off, it doesn't affect just skidooing and fishing. It involves forestry,
Well, section
involves-
16 with the Water Act.
water, oil and gas, mining, and some mines are already being moved around now for the caribou. Ones that are even around us here.
Yeah.
So and this is just caribou, and then you add in moose. Now is another species at risk. They're saying is possibly at risk. So you layer that with sheep, layer that with however many others. Pretty soon you don't have any territory left that you can do anything. And these
And that's
guys
what
are,
they want.
these guys are, and I will say this for your camera, they're crazy enough to shut it all down. Because you have a federal government and provincial government that are willing to do it now. Where before there was some resistance for economic sake, but now they're willing to just do it all.
Yeah, because they don't want us in our country. They want us to live off the government. They want us to.
Well, what's come up several times is this Y-to-Y. And the Y-to-Y is Yellowstone to Yukon. So what was proposed initially was a corridor, like a wildlife preserve park, all the way from Yellowstone to Yukon. And it involves groups like Sierra Club. You might be part of these clubs too, but that's fine. But these are the extreme elements that really want to shut down the whole area. Well, Bruce Heyman was a former member of the Sierra Club, and he's the guy that's the provincial environment minister. So guess what he wants to do,
Yeah.
right? Do you think he really wants to have oil and gas in our backcountry? He doesn't live here. So bottom line is we need to create enough pressure to say, look, you guys need to pull this back off the table. Or you at least need to consider all voices at the table. That's what we're asking too. Listen to the guys and outfitters. Hear what they have to say and have better ways to fix this. Not
Even
just,
the oil and gas, if there's a dead well that they don't use anymore, why
yeah,
aren't they ripping the road up again, right? Why are
They-
they
yeah.
leaving it there?
yeah, and anything like that should be remediated as well, right? But,
I'm all for oil and gas, don't
Yeah.
kid yourself, but
yeah. But that needs to be
stuff
more,
like that needs to be dealt with first before they decide to start closing on the other areas.
yeah, and that's, again, that's why we're making such a big noise with this, yeah.
I have another question, sorry.
Yeah.
How do we get our voices out there for Northern BC? We have the mayor of Victoria,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they want us, not this year, but next year, UBCM,
Yeah,
to go to Victoria and have UBCM, take our dollars
I
there.
wouldn't go.
You know, their boats, they want cruise ships in there. Do they paddle them in? I don't know.
And you know what, I was at the Victoria, what's it called, the Victoria Harbor? And believe me, they're, I don't think of the same mind as their, unfortunately the mayor is. But the mayor's still the mayor, they get elected, right? There's more votes for that mayor than there was for anybody else, so that's why they're there. I have a draft letter to the governor of Washington State, challenging his position on Kinder Morgan. Because they're developing oil and gas like crazy in Washington State, yet he criticizes us and has a problem with Kinder Morgan pipeline coming through BC, so.
So
and the
what the
concern-
Wet'suwet'en Nations are, trying to stop that, was that Enbridge line?
That was the one in Prince George. They
Yeah.
want to have it moved out of their territory, yeah, that's another issue, that's cheap domo.
Yeah, but if we
Yeah.
can just shut it off, maybe Victoria and them would realize that they actually do need.
Yeah, well, it gets cold down there too.
Yeah,
Guess what
Puget
they-
Sound, right?
Guess what they do when it gets cold, they go to their thermostat just
Yeah.
like we do.
We
They have
want to
no
get
idea.
buttons made. And there are buttons at UBCM
Yeah.
this year in Vancouver. And we got North Central Municipal Association, we
Yeah.
want to get them on board. Like, how do we get our voice out there? We can think for ourselves, this is our backyard, we're not doing anything.
Yeah, well, I deal with them all the time in Ottawa, but like Elizabeth May's one I constantly bug because she, to this lot, she gets on the plane with me, she flies from Vancouver to Ottawa, and then we get on the same plane and fly from Ottawa to Vancouver. Guess what they use for fuel to fly from Vancouver to Ottawa? Guess where that fuel comes from?
Washington.
Kinder Morgan pipeline, right? It's either refined in Burnaby or it's refined in Washington State. Either way, it's coming from the Kinder Morgan pipeline. And I just said to Elizabeth, it's not that, I called her a hypocrite in the house. And I said, she really was upset about that too, because she kind of walked by and I really don't like when you call me a hypocrite. I said, well, but you are. I said, well, do you support any fossil fuel development? Any? No, absolutely against any fossil fuel development. I said, well, then you're a hypocrite, because you get on a plane and you fly across country. But I have to for my job. I said, exactly.
Better
So
close
then
the
how can you
car.
be opposed, to using that fuel in the jet then? You're not walking to Ottawa, right? But this is something that people need to actually get to the bottom of and say, look, at least acknowledge that all of us need a little bit of fossil fuels and a little bit of coal. You know, the argument too, I was talking to a green student at UNBC last night. And I said, in Tumbler Ridge, it was asked of me, accusing us that we wanted to, or they should shut down fossil fuels and coal. And I asked the green person, how much coal needs to go into a wind turbine, one wind turbine? And they said, and the word was about 10 tons. And I said, well, it's actually 150 to 170 tons of met coal needs to go into one wind turbine. So even the green energy plan, the green future that they all talk about, needs coal, and it needs oil, and it needs gas. And they can't seem to acknowledge that. But we have to convince everybody in Vancouver that they need it to. And
I had a little bit of a tiff on Facebook with a guy who lives in Vancouver, and he is not for fossil fuel.
Mhm.
So I explained to him, why are you on the computer if you're not for
Yeah,
fossil
okay.
fuel?
Yeah.
And why don't you come up north and actually see where it's processed and, oh, by the way, you have to walk in your bare feet. And I was like, not very
Yeah.
nice to him on
Good
there.
for you, yeah. But they should really answer your question before they're allowed to walk away. No, I really want an answer to my question. Like, seriously, answer the question, please. Because they can't answer it.
No,
Because there is no answer.
But how did they get their message out and we can't get ours out?
Okay,
So they don't
so
understand it. where they-
you're onto something though, because this is what we accuse the oil and gas companies. The companies themselves, they have groups called CAP, like,
CAP, yeah.
that are a consortium that represent the industry. They are a bunch of chickens, and you can quote me on that too. 'Cause when we're in Ottawa and we're trying to defend their industry, and we're saying because we know that the jobs come from our ridings and we care about, we actually care that, oil and gas that's processed in Canada, where we have a human rights record second to none, and we have all this stuff, quality, you know. We're selling oil around the globe. You'd think that that would be something to be positive about, as opposed to, I took a picture of the price per liter in Ottawa, 88 cents a liter. Guess where that oil comes from?
Here.
Saudi Arabia? No, it
No,
doesn't.
it's
I wish
Saudi
it
Arabia.
was. Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, overseas, right? So why aren't we promoting that more? So getting back to the CAP thing, they like to say they like to work with the current government. Well, at some point you have to stand up for yourself and say all that. So there's a big anti-crowd, an environmental crowd that wants to shut down all phosphorus. There's supposed to be another team fighting that fight and saying, look, phosphorus are a good thing. We're actually reclaiming a whole pile of land in Fort McMurray that normally oil would leach out into the river. Now it's not being leached out because it's actually being refined. We need them to defend themselves and have that fight. But guess what? They're not fighting. The one coal company that was in Chetwynd, there's a coal roundtable there. And I got after him, I said, well, how much are you guys spending to defend yourselves? I said, the other groups are spending hundreds of millions of dollars in BC. Hundreds of millions of dollars fighting you. How much are you spending on social media and sending out a positive message to the kids of our generation to say how great coal is? They look, well, we got a website that we think we pay the person $50,000 a year to run this website. This is for the Coal Association of BC. And so I said, well, here, they're fighting their fight, they're spending millions, and you're bringing a knife to a gunfight. And you're expecting to win, and you're not gonna. Because that's the answer to your question, that's why they're losing that battle right now.
No, I straighten anybody up that I see that's on Facebook. I
How
straighten
do
them
we
up.
change that?
The next time you talk to the Mining Association of Canada or BC, you roast them. And same with CAP, you roast them too. Because they
Well,
get a
should we
whole
write
pile of
letters to
money.
them?
Absolutely. You need to defend your industry and how good the industry actually is. It's not like you're defending something that's bad. Then I could understand them being a little quiet. But when you have such a good record environmentally and equal rights and all the rest of it, that we should be selling our gas to the world and be proud of it. That's why the Japanese ambassador is coming over to Canada saying, we want your gas. It's a good place to deal with, Canada, right? And there's reasons why China wants to deal with this too, because they don't want to just rely on Russia and the US for geopolitical reasons. They want to deal with Canada. So why aren't we dealing with it?
Well, not currently.
Yeah, well, right now, yeah.
Get rid of the green.
Yeah, canola is a problem.
Yeah.
There's bugs in there. It's never been in the past.
Yeah.
The only thing that bugged me about that was, and I actually admired their courage to arrest somebody from China. But I thought the only reason you're arresting them is because Trump wants you to arrest them, like, come on. It better be a better reason than just the US wanting you to arrest them. There better have been a good reason. I mean, Huawei's bad though. You know why we have a problem? Because they have a mandate as a Chinese company to basically offer all their data to the state. So that means if you have a Huawei phone and it feeds through their system back in China before it comes back to you, it can actually do that, they're gonna see everything as it goes.
There's actually a municipality in British Columbia that turned to all that.
Yeah. Well, UBC actually has it too, as a 5G network they've given them. And the concern for us there is, well, the government of Canada funds a lot of research at UBC. Well, that means you're just kind of handing it all over to the Chinese. though. It's just, that's why, you know, we saw the Huawei problem too. And we get why they did it, but just do it. Do it because you wanted to do it. Don't do it because the US just asks you to do it.
Yeah, don't, just, yeah, do it because you want to do it.
Yeah, it's a good reason for us to do it.
Canada is being thumped on a global level between China, Saudi Arabia, and the Americans. You know, they certainly aren't our friends under the current
No, they're not.
American.
I have a lot of friends there, but trade-wise, no, it's a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying he's our big brother. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, well, there's no, I don't know what the numbers are now, but there's no bigger trade amounts between two countries than our two countries in the world. Like, they're our largest trading partner, we're their largest trading partner, for the time being anyway.
And that's
But we
almost-
need somebody courageous that's at the trade table.
Well, if you could buy a product for how much of a discount and sell it at world market prices, I mean, of course you're gonna be my best friend.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And if you could fund some environmental groups to shut down oil and gas in Canada as a strategy,
Yes.
why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
This is something too as a thought, so I'll just tell you, it's a very effective strategy, just generally speaking, is if I wanted to come and ruin your life, and I'm not saying I want to, if I wanted to do that, I could probably do it with very little money, and I'm just gonna throw chaos at you, right? So, and it doesn't cost me much to sow chaos in your life. You might be trying to build a house that's gonna be $400,000 or $500,000. I can create a whole bunch of chaos for probably thousands of dollars. And that's what these environmental groups are doing. They're just sowing chaos. But you just don't look at the environment. There's other, if you look at it as a chaos topic, that's what Russia does. That's what the US is doing in our lots right now. We just have to recognize that's what's happening.
But these protesters drive over here
With their generators.
with their generators and have their espresso
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
go and pick.
And create chaos.
Yeah,
But
And guess what?
half of them
All
don't
that-
even know what they're picketing for, right? They
Right,
don't
and
have no
they're
idea.
paid. But even that little protest group, what's there, 15 of them? With this little camp that probably cost a few thousand, maybe 20,000 at the most to fund them, shut down a $1 billion pipeline.
But I can't protest Victoria because I have a job.
Yeah.
Like, I see all those protesters out there and I'm thinking, how do they afford that?
Well, I think what you guys are on to about writing a letter,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Give us a list of who you want us to write letters.
Well, just the ones in Victoria. I think you have
Oh,
to
yeah,
take
we
this
already
little
did.
straight on.
We already did our stance on Victoria and.
Oh, and Whistler.
The hypocrisy of Whistler too, and Victoria dumping their sewer in their bay, Montreal dumping their sewer in the river, and yet telling us we're terrible.
Yeah.
Still taking the transfer payments.
So
that's the difference.
But SNC Lavalin, right, that's far deeper than, you know, it's the Quebec Teachers
Yeah.
Fund, pension fund, is heavily invested with SNC.
And there's links to Trudeau. Members of the Trudeau Foundation are on the board of SNC-Lavalin,
Yes.
right? He said he's been distanced from the actual foundation, but you can't discount the members that are on both boards.
It's funny that Revenue Canada can't do anything with the foundation.
Mhm.
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting that they have never, ever audited that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that when we were in, we had started some investigations on some key groups, and then they were shut down, and those investigations were stopped.
Any more questions for Bob? I'm sure he's tired.
How's Bruce doing otherwise?
It's doing good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Growing,
good.
we're growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, our school is busting at the seams.
Is it really?
A new subdivision in the works.
Right on, good.
Yeah, we can add on 2 more classrooms.
So how many, what's the total population now, Bruce?
Chris?
Census or BC stats?
Whatever's the most accurate.
Most recent BC stats number, Bob, was 835.
Okay,
Census in 2016 was 792.
okay, so right at just under 1,000 then. And you probably have 1,000, I would imagine, just with your transient population that works here, but you know, the ones that stay in hotels regularly and,
That's both the census and the BC stats would be Pouce proper, so within the boundaries as well. We've got quite a few people that are just outside the boundary that
Right.
very much consider themselves Pouce, but aren't
Sure.
technically.
That's 2.
yeah, it's just outside, eh? Well, do you have any, I don't know, well, again, I just wanted to, I think we talked about meeting after the new council
Yeah.
come in, and I try and get around to all the new councils just to introduce myself. Biggest thing though, especially pre-election, is that you guys have your projects ready to go. And it's not saying that they're gonna get approved. I don't know if you've applied yet for anything, no?
No,
Okay.
and what should we apply for?
Well, no, I'm just, the ones that are always the safest is if you have any pipes or sewage, sewer, water issues, those are ones that are very hard to overlook, this government. So if you have those, then
There we go, Chris.
Yeah, we do.
There's a,
We've already got those underway.
there you go.
Yeah.
How much are they, you have them priced?
Yeah, we've got a sewer flow meter project that's being done through the federal government.
Okay,
And
good.
there's an asset management plan that's just wrapped up, that we're also funded by the federal government.
Already approved, or,
Yeah, approved, underway, checks are changing hands.
so you're already good to go? Good.
I leave that part up to him.
Yeah.
Well,
No, that's good.
we're an old community. We still have the old fashioned clay
Yeah.
sewer.
Yeah.
You know, that really should be upgraded.
How much left of that clay sewer is still there, is it percentage wise?
Don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, but substantial? still?
Yeah.
Probably half the village.
Half of it.
Yeah,
The old part, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we filled, we,
But it's functioning.
still working for now?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we did the other half of the village when I first got on council, 93 to 96.
Yeah.
Boy, they were
Like those
astronomical.
will
They were
be-
astronomical.
We're sending cameras down the sewer before we
Just
pay.
wherever they were, wherever they fit.
Yeah, we're sending the cameras down.
Yeah.
And we've lost Coos Park.
I saw that. Why, just, because I remember.
The flood.
We can't get
That
insurance.
was really the reason, eh?
Yeah.
That was all. I was wondering how much that affected them.
Oh, but
And
Give us
probably,
an insurance.
probably the pit was grandfathered in there, so you probably can't do that anymore because of food sake, right?
Oh, okay.
but it's all fixed now.
It is.
Yeah.
Is
but
it
we
gonna
just-
be opened again then? or-
It is open. It was open for 3 days and then we had vandalism.
But it's no camping and it's no,
Oh, no.
like no structures down there,
Okay.
The band shell.
just a band shell.
That's
That
too
survived
bad.
it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
But
You'll have to
you
come
can't
on
get
Saturday.
insurance. If you put a building down there, you can't insure it.
What's the plan? Are you still gonna have something for Canada Day then, or?
Oh,
Not this
definitely.
year, but next year we'll have something.
Okay, down there or
Yeah, it'll
planning
be,
somewhere else?
no, down
Okay.
there. It'll be a big, I'm sure we'll do a big thing for it, even
Yeah.
out back down there.
We're doing skidoo races. on
This weekend?
Saturday. Well, we get jamboree.
Have you guys applied for those funds too from NDIT for trails and stuff?
Mhm.
Okay,
Bike trails, we want to get a trail from here to Dawson.
yeah, that's a good idea. Because I think the one is 30,000, that's the one, community centers and halls, there's a 30,000 amount. And the cool part of it is they allow, so we just told some of the cycling clubs, because normally they put a lot of their own sweat equity into things.
Mhm.
They'll even take, I think it's 70-30 is the split, so 70% is what NDIT will pay. The other 30 can be accounted for by sweat equity.
Yeah.
So it's good if you have some local clubs that want to do it a certain way, hey? Play your roots.
I tell everybody what I
Good.
do.
Okay,
It was important.
it is. So, anything else, you guys?
I don't think so.
We're all tired and ready to go home.
I am. It's been a long day.
Go across the rest of our meetings. You watch the game last night?
Yeah, we still have Chatty Cathy here.
Oh, you did? Oh, there's still people following.
Come back again and update us, because
Yeah.
we're ready to stir the pot about
We know how
Mayor
good I'm at it.
Victoria and
Yeah. All I can say is don't waste your time on waiting for a perfect letter. Just get it out. It might be imperfect, it may seem a little harsh and that, but get it out there. And then just don't send it to them, give it to media. Put it on your social media feeds and just get it out there.
And also, we gotta start poking like CAP,
Yes.
the mining industry, like,
Yep.
how
Well-
come they're sending their message better?
They're, okay, so it's starting to shift already with LNG Canada, you know, the one project that is going. The first time I've ever heard them defend their project, and it was in Ottawa, was the first presentation I heard with the new CEO. They're actually digging in their heels and starting to defend themselves, which I haven't seen before at all, and it's nice to see. Because now they've said, well, 40 billion's coming, an investment, so they're starting to have a stiff neck about it, which we just need more companies to be that way. Because even Crystal Smith from Hyslop, the chief out there, she's the one that's supporting LNG. She's Indigenous, it's good for their community, and you know, fighting other Indigenous groups that are opposed to it, but they're having to fight, they're not just
Well, with the
shying away
Heritage
from it.
Chiefs now, right? It's like the Heritage
Yeah.
Chiefs.
Isn't that, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Why would you have the council?
Hereditary, yeah.
What
They
did
just
they,
booted well, they booted them off council, the hereditary chiefs even, because they supported this oil and gas project.
what did they think in Ottawa, all those trucks going down?
I was there, it was cool.
Yeah, who spoke?
Yeah,
I
no, it was
seen that,
good.
I seen
Yeah.
that you'd spoke. But what did others think?
Well, okay, so a real honest take on it was, people were concerned with the affiliation to the LVS in France. And of course, they were being accused of being racist and all the rest of it. And there might have been a few that said different things that they shouldn't have. But my position was, I knew people that were coming up from the riding, and I said, no. I was asked to speak, and I said, yeah, I'll speak. Because I can defend it that I'm supporting my, my local community in doing it. And Andrew, we convinced Andrew to come out too, and he was proud to do it afterwards. He came out that day and gave a good speech there as well.
But not the
So
Prime Minister.
it was recognized. The trucks definitely were a presence. They parked right in front of Parliament. They blocked off the one road for 2 days.
Oh,
So it was noticed, and they had a lot of us, like we were already with them, eh? So it's not like you're gonna get us any more supportive, but it just showed how desperate they are to come all that way with their trucks, all that distance.
That's a
and have to
big
go all the way back. It's a long
as long
distance.
as they don't get audited now.
Well, even the group, so there was 2 people, Haley Wiley and this other guy, he was a counselor, one of the communities, Medicine Hat. And he got accused that he was pocketing all this GoFundMe money. If you ever know about GoFundMe, you can't pocket money from GoFundMe. They have such a rigorous process. So, but just to accuse, like it was Global News, but Global's terrible this way. They've accused me of things too that are completely false. They'll make the accusation because somebody thought it, and out there it sits, and people think, oh, these guys might be corrupt. And that's where I see as my job as a member of parliament. You can pull back from that and get cautious of being affiliated with somebody that's accused, or you can stand right with them and say, I know that's not true, and I'm still going to stand with you. And that's what we did, or that's what I did. Just friends stand up for friends. You know, that's the way it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you. I couldn't talk, and I thought I was talking too much.
Well, next time I'll
Yeah.
have lunch next time.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Please come back soon.
I will, yeah. Thanks again. Thanks again too, so, yeah, thank you.
Do it longer at a lunch
Yeah,
table.
see you too.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do next time.
Thanks, Bob.
Have a good evening.
Just watch for ethics announcements tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be interesting.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, I don't need this, do I?
No.
Good. Anything you want, I'll go do this, and I don't mean to keep you any longer, but I should give you my new card.
Oh, you have a new number?
I hope I have enough cards here.
We'll give one to,
So I'm gonna give this one out, are you gonna distribute it?
Sure.
So that's my personal email, the
Okay.
P9 you have already.
Yeah.
And that's my new cell, I think the way you have it, I'm pretty sure you do. It's a 250263. My old number used to be an auto number,
Yeah.
so just distribute it just amongst yourselves. Call me anytime, email me anytime, and ask what you want.
I will do that. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Drive safe. Call him when you're at FCM to get thrown in jail.
Okay, I will. Unfinished business arising from the minutes. New business, 8.1 recommendation.
the council received the Peace River Local Government Association invitation and information and advised Sandy who will be attending the PRLGA meeting on Thursday, March the 28th.
Can I get a second there?
I'll second.
Any discussion on this? I'll be going, Sam.
I'll be going.
Where is it?
Gotta take my resolution.
Where is that at?
14th.
Court, that's the one that's in court.
Oh, that's the one I have to find.
Ken, you were trying to look into take you driving us?
Are you driving us, Ken?
Why not?
Are you going?
It's for the 4 females.
The
10 other
four?
girls were too.
I will try a different time.
You're going?
What time is it at? It's at
5.
5. I'll have to get to town.
Donna's
You guys aren't all traveling together.
Yeah. And you're going, right?
You guys want me to go too?
And who's gonna give the community update?
Me.
You're gonna do it?
What happens if you get into an accident, the whole council's like,
Because then you have, you're left
You're-
behind.
It's you, darling.
we're gonna be in trouble.
You have Sandy.
Yeah.
For what?
If
we get
all of
into
us
an
guys go up
accident-
there and we get in an accident, there'd only be the two of you left.
He's counting.
I don't want them
We've
all
already been planning
traveling.
how we're gonna run.
I don't think they should all
Anyways, it
travel.
doesn't matter. Counselor Smith, you will be speaking to the resolution. Okay.
Well, then she can do the community thinking. I really don't care. Oh, I can do that, but you're right, at the same time. All in favor? All right, 8.2 recommendation.
That's how it the new council portfolio. For Councilor White.
Can I get a second? And you know what that is?
Yeah, or I've been told.
You've been voluntold.
I've been voluntold, yeah.
All in favor?
I just have to find somebody that's gonna go to Fort Nelson and take a ride with them for the next meeting.
I'll give you the contact information.
Okay. Is that not driving up there by myself? So who pays when I go there?
The village.
The village?
You
Okay.
get the diem for that.
We'll work a travel thing
And
for you.
then Sandy will book your hotel and all that.
Yeah, well then, you said that
I'll
they
also,
pay
I'll
for
also
something?
coordinate with them and see where it's
Yeah.
at, yes.
Okay. So they pay for some of it.
We'll leave it in Sandy's capable hands. All in favor?
Thanks.
8.3 recommendation.
The council approved the issuing of a Visa card to the corporate officer to conduct village purchases. He spelled purchases wrong.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that?
Proofreader didn't
Yes.
get that, yeah.
Discussion.
Is there a limit on
Okay,
it?
What's the limit, Chris?
Pardon?
What's the limit on this visa?
We're gonna be shooting for 10,000.
So what are you gonna be throwing on it?
Well, when she does the blinds and the chairs. and-
Nope.
No?
She books holidays. She books the hotels and all that for UBCM and for NCLGA and she, but she's
So they
normally,
can be up to $6,000.
normally she's been using Chris's visa, which is a no-no because that is Chris's visa. So we do have to give her a visa because she is booking our hotel rooms and stuff.
And then
for us
she's
to
buying
travel.
stuff for
Well, the
meetings
office
and
and,
stuff like that, yeah.
yeah,
She should have a card.
and I fully trust her.
Well, yeah, you gotta have a card. I'm surprised you don't have a card, but you gotta be smart about it.
I see the visa statements all the time.
No, not even that. I mean, I'm one of the very few who has a Visa card, which is, I think it's a no rate, but nothing in return. And for the amount that I put through that card, I should be traveling like around the world twice a year.
Oh, you should have points in it.
Should have points. And then those points could be used to purchase travel for the village when they go to point A to point B.
Are they still doing that though?
Yeah.
In miles?
Not Air Miles, TD Visa.
Okay.
has an
Infinite
actual-
card or whatever.
Yeah.
I only probably the only one that has a credit card that has money on it.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, I keep putting money on it every month.
So all in favor? Don't be buying soaps and things like that,
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
We need paint for Chris's desk.
Cookies from the States or anything like that, nothing, no. All right,
Wait, you're gonna get something for your money, right? You're not just gonna get a blank card with nothing in return for the village.
Not in my hands. That part's in the CFO's hands.
What, in terms of type of card? We gotta see what's available. Yeah. The ones we have right now aren't the aren't the
I
reward
think you
cards.
get- is it
Council
corporate
Grover?
cards?
Yeah, they're corporate cards.
I think,
I can see with TD what they've got.
I think the interest rate goes up when there's little frillies on it.
Yeah, probably.
And the interest rate doesn't even apply to us because we
No.
always pay it off within
Yeah.
a 30-day period, so there's no
Yeah,
interest
I
rate.
don't know.
Okay, done that one? 8.4 recommendation.
The council make a decision on the course of action they would like to take pertaining to the funds requested?
Funds request.
From the Dawson Creek Art Gallery.
And letter.
Attached, there's a letter attached. It should still be say funds requested.
No, well, it's,
Fund request?
no, yeah.
it's a current request.
Can I get a seconder on that?
Mm-hmm.
And discussion on that?
So how often do they plan on doing it?
We do, if you look on your wicket here, there's a letter here that has pink writing on it. It's not in your agenda, John.
Okay.
It's on your wicket.
But it doesn't
It's
say.
one of
how
it- it's one of it right
much
back up.
It says, I feel that the fair rate would be $225
per class.
per class. But as Ken pointed out last night, that we need to know if this is, what did you say again?
Well, if they're gonna have 3 classes a day, that's $750 a day, $775, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
That's ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah, and how often are they gonna have, twice a month, you
That's
know,
what I
for
was-
6
that's-
months?
That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering.
So Chris, can I put a motion on the floor for you to find out the information?
I already have that information, Your Worship.
Okay.
So in talking to Marcia about this, this number, the request for me was for a number that they could do it on a per class basis, flat fee, whether it was some of the clay classes that they were talking about or just the charcoal painting, so that we weren't constantly getting into one class is 400 and one class is 150. So it was sort of an averaged out to price. They're foreseeing somewhere around 2 classes a month, depending on demand. And that's really is what it is. I feel that this is probably a good way to go for council, because, you know, we know what's happened with the SPCA donation, for example, where, you know, larger sum of money was given up front, and we've been asking for 3 months on a report as to where our money is and what it's doing. We have no
She has
idea.
never contacted you since I messaged her?
Since that last text message series that you showed me, no, I don't have an email in my inbox. We have no idea how much has been used out of our cat spay and neuter program as it is now. So I think this protects both the interests of the art gallery and the village, in that it's a direct fee for service. They contact us and say they want to do an art class on such and such a date. We say community center is available, go ahead, they run the class, we write them a check the next day.
We did put a $5,000
Yeah.
in there for rec. So I would like to make the motion that we do this twice a month or whatever until the 5,000. But you're also gonna get an input back on how's it going, how many people, what's working, what isn't.
Well, 5,000 for the last more than, they only do it twice a month. 5,000 will last
But there
more than
might
a
be
year.
something coming up with our budget. They don't have to know about the 5,000.
We don't need the 5,000, well, it's public now.
Yeah.
We don't need to say give them the 5,000, we could just give them $225 a month for the whole year. And then we can revisit it next year to
That's
see,
per
Per
class.
class.
or per class,
So,
450 a month.
I think Councillor Smith may be onto something too, if council wanted, and to alleviate your concern, Councillor Grover, if, you know, we go into this, they could come back and say, well, yeah, we want to run 3 classes on Saturday, each class. So council could say something to the effect of 225 per class, as you guys have requested, up to 4,000, 5,000, whatever you guys feel comfortable with for the year.
No, because they can use that in 6 months.
Theoretically, they could, but at the end of the day, we know we're getting the value out of it because we're paying on a per class basis.
I'd rather just hold the 2 classes per month and then carry on, and then whatever's left over next year, carry on. Sir, Bert?
Al still is our Rick, what if he wants to have something or needs some of that money of that
That's
5,000?
different.
Completely,
That's different.
this.
It's a totally different.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we just go on a trial basis month by month and see if it's working
Yeah.
for them
Pay
and working
them,
for
pay as
us?
they go.
Yeah. So you can make that motion, Ken?
I would like to make that motion.
I
That
will
we,
second it.
All in favor?
It's part
So
of
you
the
got that, Sandy?
separation.
What exactly was the motion?
Pay as they go.
Pay as they go.
Pay as you go?
Yeah.
and on a trial basis, month by month.
On that amount,
I'm sorry?
on that amount, Councilor.
225, but
Yeah.
The class.
Okay.
Yes, it's sort of part of my portfolio.
I'm really concerned because Dawson Creek has slashed so much and we're already seeing
They're
We
coming.
overflow.
coming here and requesting funds.
And
And
we can't carry.
I think we have to, you know, just stick to our budget and sorry, our money is allocated for the year. You know, the Historical Society, what a wonderful cause, you know? Can we afford that? Can we pick up the slack? We
No,
can't.
not for that,
Not for
but
the mountain.
maybe we can help as a municipality get behind on grants or support them in other ways,
There may
whether,
be other ways.
and
we can
Canna
support them.
sponsor, you know, what they
Can I
can.
get a
and
seconder on this?
Stuff we did.
We did, I did, I
Oh,
thought.
thank you.
Oh, Sandy didn't hear you.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Yeah,
Where are we? We're on 8.5.
8.9.
8.5 recommendation?
That council make a decision on the course of action they would like to take pertaining to the funding request from the Dawson Creek and Community Kiwanis Bank.
Can I get a seconder? All in favor? Discussion?
Here we go again.
I did that backwards, I know.
I'm finding it hard. We can't give to everybody.
No, okay.
The arts program with the, you know what I mean, our residents are benefiting from that. They're coming here.
But we also have residents in the community, Kiwanis band too.
Better in the band.
How many?
I'm not sure how many,
Because
but
they have
I.
several members.
Well, I know there's 2 for sure,
Oh,
There's
that's
some that
it.
live in Tom Burke as well.
but that's not our residents.
I know, but I'm saying. for some reason.
Yeah.
But, it's crazy because we only have $25,000.
I'm surprised they have an operating cost of $20,000.
What do you think, Chris?
It's entirely in council's court, I guess is the right word. To your point, your worship, yeah, the budget line item was increased to 25, so, you know, if that's the dollar amount you guys are gonna work with. But again, you folks control the funding allocations, you know, and we've seen,
Well, I definitely think we should give some to Kiwanis, for sure.
You can't
No,
fund everybody
Kiwanis
else.
band, isn't it?
Yeah, Kiwanis
Yeah.
band.
See,
Even
I
if we have
have
to give them
difficulty.
$500. I mean, we don't have to give them thousands and thousands of dollars, we can give them $500.
Yeah, out of our kitty.
Yeah, like, it's the same as donating to the Legion, how many actual citizens use the Legion? Versus how many out of town, and we donate to the Legion.
It's
Right?
full on Remembrance Day. the rest of it.
No, I know, but maybe could be the only time, once a year. I mean, give them $500, that's all we can afford, that's all we can give them. We don't have to give them thousands and thousands of dollars. Can I get is that a motion? I guess that would be a motion then.
I would make that motion that we donate $500 to the Kiwanis band.
Okay. All in favor?
Second?
Or second? That was Barb, she said second, I heard her.
Okay.
8.6 recommendations.
That council received policy 5.7, substance use as information and discussion.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Are you happy with this thing?
Yes, I am. In fact, with some discussion. It's a policy used by multiple municipalities. and
Yeah,
I'm happy with it.
yes, I've read a couple of them being safety too.
So all in favor? Christopher
Is this a
Goswell.
motion to adopt?
Is-
This
yeah.
was on for discussion.
Huh?
So is this a motion to adopt this
It's a
policy?
motion to adopt this policy.
Okay, sorry, who made that motion?
Ken,
And who's gonna second it?
I did.
Donna.
Safety people.
8.7,
Trail something.
trail multi-use trails. I want to know if we need a meeting. We need a meeting on March 25th or April 23rd, which is be a special meeting.
8.7, is that extra?
Yes, that's an extra one.
Okay, I didn't get any paperwork on that.
I don't think
No,
there
there is
is
no
any paperwork.
There was no, it's just they want to make it,
It's, yeah, it's.
they want to make a
Just taken from the
presentation
end,
here
it's-
to tell us update on the multi-trails that they've been doing. And they want to know if we can make it on, or have it here on the 25th or April 23rd.
April 25th or April 23rd?
March 25th.
March 25th or
Or
April
April
23rd. And they've said March 25th would be their preference because they're closer, they're in Dawson that week versus Fort St. John in April, so.
I can't do it the 25th.
You're working all day.
I have an awards thing I have to
What is it, what day is that?
It's
go.
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, free.
Other thing to consider too, council, is you don't necessarily have to say yes to the invitation and present. We can just ask them for the document package and you guys can give it a read over. It's,
Yeah, they pushed it at the regional district that we have someone come out and actually do it.
Can they join our regular council meeting?
It's special,
Sandy?
it's a special presenter that's coming out just for this.
Yeah.
They're coming out on the 25th and then again on the 23rd of April.
So can we put a motion on the floor that they just send us the paperwork? Council really doesn't need to talk to her unless she calls in on a council meeting.
That sound feasible?
Can I get a second there? Donna?
Okay.
All in favor?
I think that's asking a lot for us to come in to accommodate them.
Correspondence. Does anybody see anything here? Council received the update of the ALC information. Did you guys read that? Is there any discussion on that? That was at the regional district board they presented. I don't see anything. Number 10, resolution. Is there something you want me to vote? Bylaws none. 12, administration reports. 12.1, CAO report, Mr. Wordy.
We have an in-camera set.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It's 8:30.
Okay, so kicking things off, council had asked me to go and get some quotes to get the LEDs, lights on the village buildings converted over to LEDs. We've got 3 quotes now, so the lowest one is $5,964 plus tax. Are you guys okay with me proceeding with that work?
I am.
Is there money through BC Hydro for that?
Through Bob Cameron.
I haven't had a chance to apply council for or even look at it. There's, Mayor McKinney mentioned that there may be some money available for BC Hydro. One way or another, we need to approve council motion before I can apply for a grant anyways.
All in favor? And Donna did a second.
What are we
on
in
that.
for, what are we favoring?
Awarding it to the lowest bidder.
You make a motion.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, I can't make that motion.
I made that
I-
motion.
You made the motion, but I can't, sorry, I can't be here. I can't.
It's too
be-
late now.
I know, I can't be even talking. Because Chris, would you explain why? It's a conflict of interest because it's a close friend of mine that owns that company.
You should have excused.
Yeah, I didn't dawn on me now, so can we start over?
Throw out the motion.
Throw out
No
the
lights,
motion.
no LED lights.
We can have LED lights, but I just prefer not to be in green. I'm sorry it didn't dawn on me what we're doing.
Just put down that the mayor and Kenny stepped down.
step down from the situation and
Okay, do you wanna step out?
I don't have to step out, I can just sit here and not say a word.
Okay.
Okay, I make the motion that we accept bid for $5,964 plus taxes for the LED lights in the village.
Second, that's still can?
Yes, while exploring all options through
Easy
BCI.
hardware.
All in, oh, hold on, wait.
Do we have the paperwork for the bids?
Don, would you step in as acting mayor right now?
You're acting.
I just skipped on this.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Donna?
Someone say all in favor.
Somebody, all in favor?
I have some questions.
I'm acting mayor while she's stepping down for the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the acting mayor?
Yeah, January,
And I just-
February, March.
I just lost him. I just started saying, I didn't think I was.
You, before we vote, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I was asking questions. Do we have any paperwork that we can see on the quotes? Like,
They're all exactly the same. Except for the money's amount.
you're not here.
Look at quiet.
Sergeant at Arms, remove this lady.
Stifle yourself.
Constable Poos.
Yeah.
So initially, we're going to have our LED lights changed over throughout the village?
No, this is.
Village.
This is on village-owned properties.
On village-owned property for now,
Our-
we're
our
talking
building,
Main
public
Street,
works.
whatever.
Nope, not street lights.
No,
Yeah,
but I'm
so the
saying
lights on Town Hall,
museum, okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's where we're starting off.
Any other questions? Okay, let's call a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Okay,
I yield the floor.
Now I have the floor. Okay, 12.2 action items. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we didn't see a report.
That was the first item!
She just
I didn't finish while you weren't here. You didn't go to sleep long enough, sorry.
Alright, I'll breeze through this. The audit, the full audit, I think I reported this to you guys, but it's scheduled for the week of March 18th here, so those folks will be on site the same week as both our budget and the next council meeting as well. I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes as it's progressing. There's going to be a few adjustments to the final budgets for areas identified by council, and those are for some fire hall upgrades and then items we spoke about at the staff meeting today. Bit of good news here. I signed some investment paperwork today with our brokers. They proactively advised us of an uplift in GIC interest revenue for a cash flow GIC that we had. So there's about $2,700 extra coming as a result of just literally signing to switch it into a new investment. That brings our total passive investment revenue forecasted this year to about $137,000. So to give you an idea, base year 2016, we were running at about 50,000. So we've quite literally tripled it over that time frame. And then the Dawson Creek Volleyball Club has contacted us. They would like additional days for their use, and that had come before council, and you guys had awarded them 2 days a week.
Was it over the holidays?
Yeah, it was out till April or something.
Did we not, when we made this agreement, ask them to come back and volunteer in their community?
There was
In lieu
discussion.
of?
Yeah, there was discussion about that.
And have they reached out to us in any way, shape, or form?
Not that I'm aware of.
And are we giving them some discount or some measure?
I don't remember what the motion was for. I should look that up.
Discount, they're not getting a discount, they're not being charged.
They're not being charged.
No.
Because
You waive the fees. But the discussion was to have them come out and help Canada Day.
Or any other?
Well, we didn't approach them about the winter jamboree. But
Because we forwarded before the winter jamboree was even approved.
Yes, yes.
But have they reached out to you saying, what events do you have? How can we help?
No. We have told them that that's the expectation, that we would like it if we can't tell them to do it.
I know, but then
But we
they're coming
have
back
to-
and
yeah.
asking for more
Yeah.
time and they haven't,
Reached out to us.
yeah, like,
Refresh my memory, are these students or are these actual grown people?
These are our adults playing volleyball. There may be some kids on the teams, we don't
So
know.
one could possibly be our director of Area D, because I know he plays volleyball,
Mhm.
so.
My
Let's be
thoughts,
cautious on that side, guys.
Leonard?
my thoughts on it, folks, is it's community center's not being used, what's an extra couple of days?
Exactly. They're not wrecking anything, they're not dirtying anything.
No harm, no foul. You guys okay with it? Yeah.
I just want it noted that we were sort of discussing, then people beyond our community come in using our facility, which is lovely, we love that. But we also, we're giving them no charge and.
Work with us, we'll work with you.
Exactly, and they should reach out to us and say, how can we,
So Sandy, can you stipulate to them that we want to see some return for free of service?
Okay,
am I,
I like it.
No, if we work collaboratively.
Because we're still paying for the power and all that in there, so.
No, school district fixing that.
Very good. Placed a call to the Dawson Creek RCMP about some reports that we had of snowmobilers running around on the streets. I've actually seen the tracks myself. Recommendation from the RCMP was that the residents had to call if and when they observed it happening. We ended up putting that on social media, so I haven't heard him. He was buzzing by the office there.
he was here the other day.
Was
He actually lives close to Marlene.
And
Right
he
in
goes
the
back
back
here during the
your
day.
house. That noise, snowmobile.
If I see him, I'll snap a picture of him and send it to the RCMP.
I don't think Marlene's phone's capable of doing cell phone. I think
No,
she's not-
I'll do it if I. if I-
Chris will do it, so.
Yeah, get out on
She can't even defend herself. Poor lady.
That's what I could get her.
I put a second call into the contractor from Bear Creek who did the town hall structure. He
Bear
got
Mountain.
Bear Mountain. Okay. So he got back to me. He apologized. He was on vacation for a couple of weeks. Said he's more than happy to take a look at things. Asked me to send him some pictures. I did, and we'll see where it goes. He did say it's going to take him a couple of weeks though, because he's been on holidays. He's wrapping back up in his business and stuff. But he committed to getting to it.
That's pretty good.
Held a conference call with Derek Baker from NDIT about our skate park grant. He had a few questions. We resolved those and it's being moved to the grant committee for a discussion and potential approval. We did send in another skate park grant here this week as well to Northern Healthy Communities for $5,000. We've sent 2 grants to them in the past for previous things and been declined. From what we gathered from the previous stuff, that's a pretty oversubscribed grant, so I'm not holding my breath for it, but it's in there nonetheless. Met with Katrin from Urban Systems to discuss the boundary extension project.
Hold it there, Chris.
Yep.
On those grants, I suggest if it becomes an issue on the Northern Health grants, to contact Bernier.
Okay.
Because he should be able to
Pull some strings.
pull some strings, because, I mean, we're way up north, we, don't have the facilities to be able to do this work.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Katrin, it was about an hour and a half meeting. We recapped a lot of stuff from the boundary extension project, and we set dates of April 17th and May 15th to meet with you guys and do recaps. So the first one's going to be sort of a go over everything that's been done up until this point. Kind of a refresher, mostly for the benefit of the new council members, and then the second meeting we'll start moving forward. Those are both on the council meeting dates. I ordered the sewer flow meter project that was in the capital and special projects list, and I'm I'm just waiting for Josh to get back from holidays now before our conference call as to what we do with the quote or the tender, whatever it may end up being for the actual install work. So we'll see what they recommend there. And then I followed up at the same time with the sewer folks. It turns out that those were the guys we ordered our discharge meter from way back in the day. So I said, great, get us a new one. Unfortunately, it's discontinued.
No worries.
So we can't get parts for it, can't fix it. We're looking at the same price, and according to the sales guy, it's a very similar unit in out, so it's gonna be about $8,500. We have to change that, so I'm
Well,
gonna
yeah,
go
because
ahead.
it's not reading right.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and order that, and that'll end up coming out of the sewer repairs and maintenance GL and the sewer fund. Read the animal control officer report for February. 2 dogs apprehended at large, 1 was kept overnight, and Les happily reports that the cats have gone to the SPCA for
Oh, so my
just paying
cats
new-
did help.
At least in that regard, for sure. The ditch clearing work, as I'd mentioned to council, Blair and I have spoken 2-3 times on this now. He's satisfied that we can do scoop and remove in terms of the snow, so that's gonna be our process now going forward.
Are we hiring contractors to do that, or are we just doing it with
No,
our
we're
own
gonna
truck?
do it internally with the loader. It's actually quite fast with that loader from what I understand, so, yeah. Went and laid out the snowmobile course last week with Skylar, and thanks to
Chris,
Austin
can you
and
tell me
Greer.
when they're gonna do that snow removal?
It's happening right now. Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you.
No, no worries, your worship. So I just want to say thanks to Austin and Rob at the Mirror there for running that article for us. Skylar was pretty happy she made the paper, so. And then, I think this is not one more after this, proofread all the website updates by Alistair. So this was Councillor Smith's project, confirmed at the staff meeting today. Those are all uploaded, so there's about 10 to 12 new pages now for the website. He did an awesome job on it, and I told him what an awesome job I thought he did, so.
Fort St. John just received an award on their promoting, like, Move Up North and all that. You know what I mean? So I know we can't do something like that, but slowly we've got to sort of rebrand ourselves, and I'm sure that Austin.
Well, and this, the work he did there has a lot of those sections. So there's economic development. We have links to real estate now. We've got a whole section on history. The West
got
Coast
that movie
Development
going right
Plan,
now.
yeah, is all highlighted on there. So it's been a big update. Yeah. Last but not least, I heard that.
See, he's not driving to Chapman tonight, so he can just
Nope.
use the lawn.
this is the last one. The part of the budget discussions we had was about reconnecting electricity to the bandstand at Poos Park. We had brought in a contractor to do a quote for it, and they had to actually test the underground line to give us a quote. They did that, found that the line was actually fine. So, long story short, they came back and said, we got a couple hours of work to reconnect this thing. We're here. Do you want us to just do it? So I said, go ahead. So we're less than $2,000 to reconnect that.
So through this snowmobile process, are you gonna have music just blaring on there heading back? Now that you got Howard to.
Well, so the line is good, and we've had them do the connections. From what I gathered, we removed all of the other wires from that panel so that none of the other should go live. We've still got to get BC Hydro in to do their thing to turn the switch or whatever they do.
Did you want live music for Saturday? Cause I'll pull some string, no?
We'll be okay.
They won't hear it over the.
We should listen to Chris's music as bang.
You'll have to hit microphone.
Between the helmets and the angry two-strokes, I think we'll be good.
12.2 action item. Anybody see anything that they don't agree with?
Were there any housing grants available?
You haven't heard any replies back, Sandy? Oh,
Pardon?
May 1st, 2019? Invite Ministry of Environmental to,
I haven't heard back.
haven't heard back.
I got a receipt, I got an email that says I received my email. So far, that's it.
I don't see anything. We have the stats for the medical calls, Chris?
Blair's working on those, that came up in the staff meeting today. I told him we probably wouldn't be looking at inviting him to a council meeting until, May.
The budget's over.
Yeah.
Okay, now where are we?
Oh,
Capital
let's see.
special projects, 3.4. Anybody see anything?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
I hate to do it, but I'm gonna just
Throw that
question,
out there.
gonna question with no malice at all. I'm sorry, I'm sure I've asked this question a dozen times. I'm gonna ask it again.
Write the answer down.
We have $350,000 budgeted for the skate park. How much of that money is going to be covered through grants?
Well, the grants are still coming in.
The grants, yeah, that's a good question, Councillor Drover. We don't know at this point. There's $100,000 of grant applications out there. No, there's more than that.
Yeah.
Let me double check that number before I give that to you, but, we won't know until it all finally comes in. Even the NDIT one for 50 that I reported on a moment ago, those guys aren't meeting until the end of March. And then once they meet, there's likely, an administrative process we may not find out till the middle or end of April as to even that. It takes some time.
Would it, thank you, Chris. Would it not be responsible, and for lack of a better word, responsible, of the council to wait until they had received sufficient funds through grants and donations to go ahead with this project?
I think we already were well ahead with the last council.
I can speak to that if you'd like, Your Worship. So the grant process, Councillor Grover, is the council can't do a project contingent on a grant because the grant agencies look for a firm commitment from the municipality to go ahead and build a project. So where we run into issues is if we put a line item on a budget, say, okay, we'll build a widget for $100,000 on the condition that we get a grant. And if we don't, we're not gonna build it. When the grant agencies see that, they don't see a firm commitment to that project by the municipality. They see somebody saying, if somebody else is willing to pay for this, then we'll do it. If not, then no. So in the budget process, what we always do is budget to have the municipality cover the full cost of any and all projects, and it's adopted that way. So then we can clearly communicate to the grant agencies, this project's happening. If you guys would like to partner with us, come on in, give us some funds after the fact. We'll partner up on it. But there's very, very few examples where somebody can say, we will build this on a condition you guys will fund this thing.
Last follow-up question. Approximately 1,000 people in the village. Has there been a study done to determine the age categories within those 1,000 people in the village, and to determine how many people are we looking at that would take full advantage of the skate park?
Donna, go ahead.
When I had the last one, when I did the funding to get the last one that they put in the rink, the kids were always using it.
And they're still using it.
They're still using it all, when it's been set up, but it's probably wearing out by
They're
now.
really starting to show
Yeah.
age too.
I'd like to say that Area D donated $50,000 to the skate park. That also is coming off the bill.
Thank
Because
you.
his kids will be playing it, using it too, right?
All right, I'm happy. Sorry.
Okay, counselors, calendars, anybody going anywhere? I was supposed to be in a meeting today, a special meeting for St. John, I didn't go.
Oh my God. That's kind of hard at this time of year for you, isn't it?
Oh, it is, I did a regional district yesterday.
What meeting were you supposed to be at today?
It was a special meeting they called, I can't remember what it was called. Do you remember what it's called, Austin?
Is that today or?
Yeah, today.
I thought there was one yesterday, cause I called.
Yeah, no,
it.
Leonard texted me this morning to see if I was going. I said, no, I can't, I'm swamped.
I didn't see it actually, to be honest.
Huh?
Didn't even see it yet.
Well, you didn't give me your phone number, I texted you. Get your butt up there. Yeah, so. Looks good to me. I just go where I'm told. Then you said the encounter one was the 13th?
Yes, at the in-camera events.
Yeah, and the RCLC's on the 13th.
Yeah.
Who's my, you're my alternate for that? And who's my RCLC's alternate? Who is RCLC? DC Local.
None of those
I don't remember.
I got it right here. We got our packages.
It's under the
Oh, great, it's on that schedule.
But yeah,
We got our packages in here somewhere.
I
Right
don't know
here.
if there is an RCLC alternate. I don't
Yes,
think
there is, yes, there is, yes, there is, no, there isn't, no, there isn't, no, there isn't. No, there is not an alternate.
Well, who wants to do it? Your regional district, it's all regional district stuff. So do you want to do it?
Oh, you're talking,
On the 13th.
no, not that 13. I don't.
Oh, that's,
Where's the Northern Ireland Trail?
I don't know, I usually ride with Leonard. I could do this one, but the next one, yeah, somebody else will have to.
I can.
You can do it.
When's the next one?
It'll be probably not till March, or,
April?
3 months.
No, the next one is next month.
Is it this one?
She posted on the agenda that it's next month. I have the date in my computer.
Okay.
I'll check. I do have, she
Barbara
sends
will
me
go
the, she sends me
I'm
the.
doing piece.
For the regional
She's doing it
district.
in April.
Yeah. Barb's doing the regional district in April, so she might as well do the RCLC at the same time. Because it's all regional, kind of regional district stuff.
Okay. I'll forward you the info.
And I just okayed a meeting, April 9th,
That was EDAC.
EDAC. Do you want to add that in?
What's EDAC?
That's probably for the garbage dump,
Oh.
Economic.
economic development.
Oh. Right.
Okay, anybody else? Nobody else? Okay, reports. Councillor White.
Put the library one for everybody to peruse.
So this is the only meeting they've had since,
Not till the one that I had on February the 21st.
Is there a copy in the binder?
Not yet.
Oh, I just gave him one to me. And the one that they did on February the 21st, Cindy Blaney stepped down because she's fulfilled her mandate from the library. She's done 8 years, so she came up on the council.
To who's the chair?
Ruby.
Ruby is looking for Ruby.
She was really hesitant about doing it, but we talked her into it. Said everybody would help her.
Yeah.
And she took it to me and she said, "You help me?" I go, "Yes, I will." So,
Good for her.
and Danielle is staying as vice chair, so. They're going to man a booth at March in the Jamboree for Val. And
Where are they doing that at? At the community
they're
center?
in the community center. With the
So you're
Jamboree.
manning booth. Oh, okay.
Manning
They're
a
taking
booth
care of one of the
for,
carnival games.
Oh. Okay.
It's okay, don't worry, we got it all under control.
yeah.
As long as you know.
Yeah, we know.
Wine for Books, their profit was $1,655.31.
1,000,
659.
1,600.
Yeah.
Oh, not good.
Well, there wasn't that many people this year, and they weren't drinking like they did before either, so.
Me and Marlene never tried one on. We went home, we were Cinderella's, we went home early.
They changed a lot of things this year that, you know, one, we didn't auction off the fire department.
Yeah, see right there.
And
Well, that wasn't gonna stop anybody from coming, because they
I'm
wouldn't
saying
know.
money raised.
I know, but they didn't wanna be auctioned off.
And there was an,
They didn't want to be on a plate.
and, oh, okay.
They didn't wanna be
Some
auctioned off.
changes.
You can only do so much.
Yeah, hopefully in the fall those changes will be okay.
Okay, there's a BC Library Conference in Surrey on May the 8th and 10th, so Courtney's going and they're trying to talk Ruby into going with her. And then there's a Beyond the Hope Conference in Prince George on June the 2nd and the 4th. So that's why that one budget went up, is because there's a conference every 2 years and they have, they budget $5,400 for that, which is not bad for 2 people. And Courtney's working on the Sophie report.
And we haven't seen, oh yeah, we did see the budget. Never mind.
Yep.
Excuse me for that
But
one.
that budget was only to the end of January.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, helping on Saturday, being the chili cooker. We've named ourselves the Poos Chili Council. Gotta come up with a name. And I'm helping the fire department on the 16th as well. I'm the bartender.
At their supper.
Yeah, their supper. And I bought tickets.
Are you gonna give me my date? For the 16th, are we gonna go time? For the dance? We'll have to get Laura and her. Counselor Smith,
Haven't been anywhere.
haven't done anything. Counselor Hebert, nothing. Can't speak. You don't have nothing for me to speak for you? No? Counselor Grover.
Let's see. We had a meeting at the community center with the Peace River Regional District. And that was
I was working that night.
that was quite informative.
How many people?
6.
For what meeting?
For the 100.
Update.
Update of-
activities.
I didn't find out about it until the day of, and I couldn't get there.
The field notes.
Field house discussion, which was informative.
They tabled it because Lori Ackerman wasn't at the meeting and neither was the mayor of Hudson Hope, so they tabled it again.
I'm wondering if that letter has been sent to the Ministry of Environment requesting that they attend council, and if there's been a response to that.
Yeah, that's the one I just asked her about. That was on the,
Ministry of Transportation.
huh? No, you got one here. Minister of Environment.
Is that
To come to county
Trevina?
meeting, waiting to reply.
Is
That's
that
what-
Claire Trevina?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
Claire
was-
Trevina is the, highway. And Minister of Environment is, somebody.
Of course.
So we're still waiting for a reply.
Yes. I'll double check also.
March 13th, we had the Courtesy Matters meeting at the Canada Event Center. May the 1st, our first meeting in May, I will be at the Petroleum Safety Conference. So I will not be participating in May's meeting, or the 1st of May.
Okay. We have lots of things for him to do then, when he gets back.
Absolutely.
Yes, we always volunteer. We volunteer.
And I really apologize for not going to be there for our jamboree. I think that's a worthwhile cause, and unfortunately I can't attend. My apologies.
No problem. Mayor McKetty, well, she's been at lots of regional district meetings and bylaw meetings, but there's an in-camera meeting that I have to discuss some stuff with you guys. So that is my report. So can I have a motion to move into in-camera
And go past 9 o'clock, too.
and to go past 9 o'clock?
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a seconder? All in favor? Thank you, Austin, for coming.